Okay, so this story took place back when I was in Florida in the early 90s. It does involve an act of vandalism that is connected to revenge. Anyway, South Florida was devastated by Hurricane Andrew. My dad, as part of a local charity, was set up day after day at a local market seeking donations from shoppers to give to food banks. You have to understand this storm left many people homeless and without power in some cases for 6+ months in Florida, heat and humidity. My father was legally disabled from a serious car accident. He was hit by a drunk driver in the early 80s and suffered from relentless hip and back problems. It never killed his heart or kindness to others, hence the charity work. One day, he was about to pull into the disabled space at the local market to go buy a few items to donate to the hurricane charity. Right before he is about to pull in, this lady pulls into the space in this shiny red Porsche. My dad parks behind her and says, "Excuse me, ma'am, I was about to pull in there," and also points to his disabled placard in the window. She says to him, "Theft, you don't look disabled," and proceeds to walk into the store. For anyone who has a relative who uses a disabled space, you know the frustration of this situation and the anger one feels. My dad, seemingly unfazed, waits until she goes into the store and then gets out and snips the valve stems on all 4 tires, flattening but not destroying all of them. He then pulls into another space not far away and just waits. About 15 minutes later, the lady comes out and is shrieking about her car being vandalized. My dad is far enough away so she can't see him, but he can hear everything. She calls the police. Big mistake. She files a report for vandalism, and the police give her a ticket for being parked in the disabled space with no placard, about $250 at the time. The cops leave, and she calls a tow truck. As the car is being loaded onto the truck, my dad pulls up and says to her, "You don't look disabled, but your car sure is," and then drives off. My dad could be a nice guy and pure savage when he needed to be. Hello again. I have another story of me using my safety vest and charm as a means to do good to share with you all. Context: I'm a 40-year-old man, currently mobility restricted. I either use a manual wheelchair or the motorized mobility aids that supermarket stores provide. I also am a voice actor, and years of experience and training has led me to create the English guy persona. Around here, Vancouver, Washington, USA, the implicit bias revolving around people from the UK tends to be far more kind. I use a false English accent in order to avoid being mistreated and as a bit of a coping mechanism with my anxiety. As for the safety vest, I wear the vest to keep from people hitting me while I'm in the wheelchair or scooters. The story. Some point over the last week, I'd taken a trip to Winco just up the road from me. I love this store as my interactions there tend to be far more positive. Better prices too. I was really only in there for like 4 things, and I was just leaving the frozen food section, heading towards the front by way of the large display of bottled waters. There, I saw this frustrated woman. She wasn't much older than me, late 40s, 55 tops I'm confident. She was struggling to get this 24-pack of bottled waters down. The issue wasn't her strength or even leverage. It was that she was trying to grab one that had another package partially sitting on top of it. Trust me, these things can be heavy enough as it is. I asked if she'd like some help. She looked shy for a moment, then sighed and bashfully asked, "Would you?" I gave her a line that is the actual truth with me. It's how Mom and Grandmother raised me, offered to help, so with her permission, I moved the items around in her cart and managed to get that thing in there without much issue. She thanked me so much, and I figured that'd be the end of it. Nope, but for good reasons. I was browsing the breads when she returned. She asked me if I knew where a certain type of burger sauce was. I blinked, as I'd never heard of burger sauce specifically. I told her, though, if she was looking for sauces for burgers or steaks, and she was heading into that aisle from the direction we were pointed, then she'd want to look to her left. I gestured with my hand at the appropriate height that they'd be at. She was impressed and walked off. She came back 2 more times looking for other things, not once asking if I worked there. I also didn't tell her I didn't because she already gave that aura that she was embarrassed about having to ask for assistance as it was. I helped her, and she then moved off to a different aisle to handle her purchases. I went to the wide aisle as it is the easiest to maneuver in and out of while in a mobility aid. I chat briefly with one of the regular employees, and we catch one another up on current affairs. It was as I had finished bagging my groceries and was wheeling towards the exit this lady approaches with one of the managers I'm quite friendly with. The lady pointed at me, but not in an accusing way, more to kindly indicate, "There he is. That's the one." The lady proceeded to tell the manager how I exemplified customer service, how I took time to assist her, and that I was polite and friendly. She said I was knowledgeable and not once made her feel like she was an imposition. My manager friend flashes me a knowing smile, and I just smile back under my mask. When the lady finishes the compliments, she informs me that she wanted to be present when she gave me my kudos so she could witness my reaction. I thanked her, though I did check my watch. I informed her I did have frozen food in my cart and I should be on my way. She very politely apologized and said she needed to go too. Once she left, the manager and I shared a laugh for a good minute. Not mocking her, just that this was such an interesting, good, and wholesome thing. Like a reverse Karen, a Nayrock. So that's it, the whole story. I love to help, gotta say. This is a story my mom told me 1 year after a family gathering was over. So, my mother is the middle child of 3 girls. We're Chinese, not from China, but the same old Chinese culture seems to permeate through all geographical boundaries no matter where you exist as a Chinese person. My grandmother is the oldest daughter of 6 or 7 kids. I'm not entirely sure. There's too many relatives to keep count of. As I'm sure you probably know, traditional Chinese culture places strong emphasis on birthing sons to carry on the family name as per the whole patriarchal patrilineal thing. Some of my elder grand relatives are still particularly hung up about this. So when my grandmother was a young woman and my mother and aunts just young girls, my grandaunt, who'd just had a son, told her elder sister something my grandmother and my mother never forgot. "You must have done something bad in a past life to have been cursed with 3 daughters and no sons." My grandmother is generally a very genial lady, and being the elder sister, said nothing bad to her sister about this. My mother was there, and after, as I was told, my grandmother took her 3 daughters aside to tell them to study hard and make something of themselves. Now, where the karma kicks in is, basically, the rest of their lives. Grandaunt had sons, and some daughters too, but her husband turns out to be a worthless, sexist pig who gambles too much and doesn't earn enough for the family. Example, her children had to embarrass themselves by openly admitting to their school teachers that their parents didn't have any money to pay their school fees with. When Grandaunt gets old, her hair turns white prematurely before her older sisters. She gets diabetes and high blood pressure that eventually confines her to a wheelchair. And her children are all reluctant in taking care of her, shuttling her around their homes and aggressively talking about how the other sibling should be the one taking care of dear old mama. Sometimes nursing homes are mentioned. Her children end up in relatively blue-collar jobs. At least, they are where I live, like distributing newspapers, to name one. Sexist pig granduncle loses an eye and gets a leg injury that causes him to always walk with a limp from then on. We call him Limping Uncle. And my grandma. She snagged herself a good husband who believes that honor resides in taking care of the family. I did not make this up, and she now chills at my aunt's house, while my mom and dad take her out during the weekends to go shopping, eat good food, or visit cool places. Her oldest daughter emigrated to Australia with her husband, middle daughter, my mom, became an interior designer and earned enough money with husband, my dad, to afford a house in the pricey suburbs. Almost everyone lives in an apartment here, so this is a big deal, while the youngest daughter is senior HR manager at a prominent hospital. 2 out of 3 daughters graduate from university, which was a big thing in the 80s. Also, Grandaunt died several years ago while my grandmother hit the ripe old age of 80 and is still going strong. I strongly suspect that Grandaunt married a wastrel of a husband because of ingrained patriarchal values. Girls, remember that patriarchy is 50% female as well, and don't screw yourself over with it. I work at a financial aid office for a local private university, and I've only been here for a little over 2 months. It's a stressful job because I'm forced to learn things about the financial aid process I never thought I would need to know, such as how FAFSA forms are processed. To all my non-U.S. citizens, or for those who never went to college, the FAFSA is a critical form that students fill out to see how much money you qualify for to pay for your college. A lot of time this means that students who have loans, grants, scholarships may get a refund check. These checks can vary depending on a variety of things like how much you qualify for and how much the school takes for tuition, classes, room and board, and other expenses. Sometimes students will get thousands of dollars in refund money. For anyone who plans to get a refund, be sure to never discuss how you're going to use it outside of class requirement because it's a policy to refuse to disperse funds if knowingly used for things outside of school use. This is important information. Now, on to the story. So my job as a financial aid assistant is to be a basic office aide, but with the knowledge of a financial aid counselor. Yesterday, a young woman with her entitled dad, ED, came into the office. Before I could greet them, the man said, "Where is the person that is holding my kid's money hostage?" I was terrified because this man was larger than me and angry. I wanted to cry by the mere loudness of his voice. I managed to say, "Sir, I can see if anyone is available to talk," and he began barking at me about how this is a terrible university and how dare they keep his daughter's money like this. It's a small office with my supervisor, who is the director of financial aid, DFA, the assistant director, AD, and a student aide. And we're all females. I turned to the open doorway to see the AD looking unimpressed. "I can talk to you and your daughter about her money." Side note, if you're looking for your refund, call the billing department first, not the financial aid office, as we don't really control how it's dispersed. AD and the girl went into the office, but the door was kept open so everything was heard. If I wasn't allowed to record things due to privacy reasons, I would have recorded this exchange. AD, so how can I help you? What's going on? ED, my daughter's refund was supposed to be released by the end of this week. It's Wednesday, and it's still not in her account. AD, sir, please calm down. AD, no, she needs her money because we need it for our trip. Daughter, Dad, I'm not going on a trip. AD, yes, you are. Remember, we're going to Disney World. AD smirks knowingly, so you're using your refund to pay for a trip outside of school needs? Daughter, no, I'm not. ED, yes, she is. She promised to pay the deposit with that money, and we need it now. AD, sir, I must inform you that I cannot allow these funds to be released as you have just told me your daughter will be using them outside of school use. This is not allowed. AD, what? It's her money and she can do whatever she wants with that money. AD, you can only use this money for school-related purchases. This is considered an improper use of funds, which is considered fraud. Let's be clear here. You can use your refund money however you want, but you should never tell the financial aid office your vacation plans and be total jerks about it. Most people in financial aid don't care how you spend your refund in general. I was still at my desk, trying to look like I wasn't hearing this, but this man had a meltdown. I swear I learned more swear words from this guy than in my 27 years of life. The girl was also upset, but as she wouldn't be getting her money, I kept my head down as they left the office. I soon got up and checked in on my AD. "Hey, are you okay?" She nodded and told me to inform security to keep an eye out for that guy. She clearly needed a few minutes to herself. I don't blame her. That guy was very intimidating, and I don't think it'll be the last we hear of him anytime soon.